My name is Professor Rad, and in this video, we're going to talk about rounding whole numbers. Now, there are a few different ways that you can think about rounding whole numbers. So we're going to look at one method in this video and a different method in the next video. And you can feel free to use whichever method, fits your brain better. Whichever way makes more sense to you is the way that you should go for. So before we begin to round, I do want to talk about what does it mean to round a number. So usually if a newspaper or an article or even just like a person talking is giving a very large number, chances are they're not going to say that number precisely, right? So you're most likely, instead of to hear like 256,319, probably going to hear like 256,000, or maybe even like nearly 300,000 or something along those lines. So someone's going to take that long number and abbreviate it to make it just a nicer number to say. So in a math class, when we round a number, we tell you where the nice place is going to be. So here's an example, and we'll work through rounding using a method that I like to call like finding the closer number. So let's see how this will work. So the example says in 2019, the population of New York State was about this many people. And we want to round this number to the nearest 10 million and then to the nearest million. So what they're doing here is they're saying this is a really large number. So there are two ways we could make this nicer to talk about. We could round it to the nearest 10 million, or we could round it to the nearest million. So let's see why those would be intuitive or natural and nice places to round to. So when I look at this number, let's just review briefly our periods. So all the way on the right, we have the ones period. Then in the middle, we have the thousands. And then here we have the millions. And then if we had another period over, that would be the billions period. So the largest period that we have on this number is the millions period, and it has 2 digits. So that's why it would make sense for us to use either million or 10 million, because we have 2 digits here. So 10 million would make sense. And because million is the largest period here, the 1 million would also make sense. If we had 3 digits here, like a 519, then it would make sense also to round to the nearest 100 million, because we would have had at least 100 million people in the state. That would be a lot. So in this case, these are the place values that are being indicated to us. So to round a number means we want to find the closest 10 million and we want to find the closest million. So let's focus just on 10 million first. So when we're rounding to the closest 10 million, that means we want to think about rounding to the closest 10. So if we count by tens, you start out with no tens, and then of course you have 10 tens. And then you would have 20, 30. I don't know why I wrote 34. My goodness. I was thinking ahead to 40 here. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then up to 100. So if we're counting by tens, these are what we are counting by. No 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Each of these are increasing by tens. And when we're rounding to the nearest 10 million, what we're really doing is we're thinking no million, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, and so on. So we want to figure out what number, no million, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, and so on, is this number closest to. So the way I think of that, well, we've got about 19 million. Right. So 19 million is in between 10 million and 20 million. So we're kind of looking in between here. And we want to see, is 19 million closer to 10 million or is it closer to 20 million? So 19 million is 9 million away from 10 million, right? So if I have 10 million, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So it's 9 away. And then from 19 to 20, that's just 1 away. So it's much closer to 20 million. So that means 19,453,561 to the nearest 10 million is going to be 20 million. And again, I'm just going to write here, we're thinking this as 20 million. So 19 is closest to 20 as compared to 10. So that's how we can round to the nearest 10 million by thinking of what's closer. So let's try rounding to the nearest million. So now instead of counting by tens, we're going to count by ones. So let me find my eraser here. So in this situation, we have something like no million, and then 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, all the way up to 999 million. So this time, instead of adding 10 to each time we count, we're adding 1. So we could be any one of these like 999 million things. So there's a lot more to think about here. So to narrow it down, we have 19 million currently. So we are in between 19 million, and then the next million would be 20 million. So we have 19 million or 20 million. These are our candidates here for rounding to the nearest million. Because really this is 19 million and then some extra. So if that extra is only like a few people, right? If this was 19 million 2 people, you could see, okay, 19 million and 2 people is a lot closer to 19 million than it is to 20 million. But 19,453,561 people, is that closer to 19 million still? Or is this extra 453,561 people enough to bump it up to the 20 million? So when you're checking for closer, you want to be thinking of like a halfway point. So halfway between 19 million and 20 million, my halfway point is 500,000. So you'll find fives a lot when you do halves because half of 10 is 5 and all of our numbers are built off of tens. So halfway to a million is 500,000. So we have, if I have 19 million and then more than 500,000, that means I'm going to be closer to 20 million. And if I have 19 million and then smaller than 500,000, that means I'm going to be closer to 19 million. So when I look at how many thousands we have here, we have 453,000. 453 is smaller than 500. So since we're smaller than the 500, we're going to be at 19 million. And so the way we would write this in standard form would be 19 and then 6 zeros afterwards. So this would be our answer. Now, for some people, this concept of thinking about what it's closer to makes sense. Maybe even as you were watching me do this, you're like, why are you taking so long to do this? It's obviously closer to 19 than it is to 20. For other people, maybe as you're watching this, you're like, I am so much more confused than I was before. So rounding makes sense to different people in different ways. If this way makes sense to you, then this is a way that's going to work for you. When you are rounding between things, you're going to be counting by either 1, 10, or 100, because that's what our place values come in. So if we wanted to round this to the nearest 100 million, then I would think of 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, and so on, and then find which 100 I would be closer to. If this method did not make sense to you, don't worry, because in the next video, we're going to look at a different method that might work better for you. And this other method is probably the one that I personally am going to default to more often, just because it's more, it's a clearer rule and it's easier for me to like just follow the rule than think about each of these on a case-by-case basis. So yeah, so that's where I'm going to wrap up this one. Like I said, if this works for you, fantastic. If not, let's hope the next one works a little bit better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. And until then, have a wonderful day and bye for now.